talking racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is The Magic Mike Show. Mr. Summit. Huzzah! Welcome back. This is our first show of December. Wow. This is, December, our first recap show of December, I should say. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. This year has been ridiculously fast and ridiculously slow all at once. But, excited to head into December here, close it out, and then move into 2021. Hope for better things here.
Yeah, so I saw just a few minutes ago, apparently there's now a galactic federation out there in the cosmos. There are Martians that are deep in Mars that are working with the United States government and the Israeli government. So I learned that right before we went on here. So
that's good.
If you had alien invasion around Christmas on your 2020 bingo card, congratulations, you doomed us all.
You can mark that one with your little dot thing, right? You're good to go.
I saw that and I couldn't believe, and I see stuff like that now, Mike, and I just, of course, yeah, why not? It's 2020. Why not aliens? That's like one of the very few things we haven't hit so far this year.
But is it an invasion if it's friendly? I mean, if they're working with the government, that's a positive, right?
I guess that's true. Although why America and Israel specifically? I don't know. It's more. I'm really hoping this just is another bullshit thing that's out there. I don't want
more
this.
holes in that story than a piece of Swiss cheese, my friend.
Oh, man. Well, you know what didn't have holes in it, Mike? Our handicapping from last week. We covered the late pick 4 at Gulfstream Park on their Claiming Crown card, which, by the way, record handle for Gulfstream Park's Claiming Crown card. So it's good to see that they're continuing to build that product up. It's a lot of fun. If you didn't catch the show, the Claiming Crown, if you've started for a certain dollar amount, either in the last 2 years or in your lifetime, you run for some really big money in these races, and we saw some prices. We didn't get a price home really in any of the legs that we loved, including my 15-1 on top choice that ended up going off at 6-1. But hey, we cashed the ticket. We can move on, and we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about that stuff today.
Yeah, we tried. It was a good call, man. And you had him on top at 15-1. And we even said on the show, I mean, I said, I love this horse at 15-1. I'm worried now that you have him in top. I used him in third, that we might not get all that 15-1. And if it goes off at 3-1, not so much. At least we got 6-1. And a 6-1 winner is nothing to shake your head at. I'll take $15 back for a $2 win bet any day of the week. It was a nice way to start off the pick 4. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get a price in the other legs. I mean, we accurately picked the leg that we should expect a favorite in. And that happened, and we accurately picked the legs we thought chaos could happen, and it wasn't quite chaotic enough, and that's why we got back with a $100 ticket. But at least we cashed both tickets, both made some money. Those are good things. Good things.
I was gonna say I don't even remember though. It's been probably over a year since you and I cashed a ticket from the same sequence. We usually, often we'll get in a groove where it's like I'll hit, then you hit, then I hit, then you hit, and then you hit, then you hit, then you hit, and then maybe I hit and you hit a bunch more times. But yeah, this time we got to celebrate. We did cash in big, no Samo bombs this time, at least on Saturday. But you had a good little intro building up to Gulfstream on Saturday, didn't you?
Yeah. Saturday's actually a pretty good day. The Samo bombs did really well. We had went 9 out of 10 at Aqueduct. All must use are next up. With the only race we missed was the last race. We were live to $7,000 and $12,000 in the early pick 5, which ended up hitting for $2,000. Live for almost. I personally was live for about 30,000 going into the last at Aqueduct to Snapper Sinclair. The Sama bombs were live too. What was it? 8,000 to the pick 6. We were 4 deep in the pick 6. Didn't have it. 3 deep in the pick 5. 3 deep in the $3 pick 5. So it was a lot of will pays that just didn't get home in that last Aqueduct. And actually went 10 for 11 on the grid at Gulfstream. Just only hit that late pick 4. We got 4 to 5 back too, so almost a break even day. But it was just a little frustrating because the first couple races, the last horse off the ticket was the one that won on those. So that was on the grid as a deep ticket, but just didn't quite get there. So all in all, saw the ball pretty well on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, Gulfstream went full Gulfstream, man. I don't know if you saw the payouts on Sunday. I think there was one horse under 10-1, maybe 2 horses under 10-1 that won the entire day in a 10 race card, and then it was just bomb after bomb after bomb. And some of them were logical, some were not. So Gulfstream definitely. It's funny. It's horse racing. Horse racing finds a really good way to humble you. And when you're feeling it, I was feeling it going into Sunday. I got humbled a little bit. So, you get used to it, move on. I capped Remington today, hit the early pick 4, paid $90.
Nice.
We hit it at least. So, what can you do?
Yeah, I saw you putting the ticket out, and someone asked if you don't follow us all that often, if you're a little unfamiliar, Michael put out some plays or stuff during the week, but just on Twitter for free. But you got to remember, he's not giving out everything he's doing because those weekday pools, they're pretty small, and y'all are great in the Magic Mike Army, but sometimes you kill those pools, and Mike's trying to make a living here, so sometimes he can't quite share what he's going to play because and everybody hits, and his $5,000 potential score is now it's like $800.
Well, a lot of times I'll put out the pick 4 because the pools are a little bit bigger. The pick 5s, I'm literally trying to scoop on a Monday morning like that. If I'm playing a pick 5 at Remington, I'm trying to take the whole pool down, and that's why I'm not going to post up the ticket. But I'll post up the pick 4s because it's impossible to scoop pick 4s, and usually those are going to pay, well, let's say $1,500, something like that. It's not the 15, 20, 30,000 I'm going after on those pick 5s. So I'll often throw up pick 4 tickets, but the pick 5s are a little fewer and far between. And like Sam Houston will be back here in 34 days, and you can expect some Sam Houston late night action with the pick 4s going up, but don't expect to see the pick 5s because again, we're going to try and scoop that pick 5 pool once or twice. So we'll see what we can do.
Oh God, Sam Houston! I can't wait. I'm so excited. No, I actually am excited because it used to be when Mike would do this Friday Sam Houston. I'm driving home from my old job, so my phone's blowing. It's like an hour drive. My phone's blowing up, and it's just annoying as hell. And I'd kill my battery half the time because I'm listening to a podcast or something, and I'd have to keep it charged in the car the whole time. Yeah, it was even on silent. It was just like the light would flash up and everything. It took me a while to figure out how to turn, just make it all shut off because it was so crazy. But this year, when I get done with work, I go from this chair to the living room right over there. So it's a little easier for me. I'll be able to pay attention. So I am actually excited to get into that when we get going. But before then, Mike, we're going to talk about Gulfstream. We're going to go over our late pick 4 ticket, talk about what we liked and why we were right with the certain things we did. There's also, you wanted to look at a long shot that it was 55-1 and off of a 12-1 morning line, really got a lot of value you shouldn't have there. So we're going to talk about that. We'll also look at the Remsen, the Starlet, the Demoiselle, and the Cigar Mile. But before we get on to that, Mike, I'm so excited for this. What's the best thing you saw?
I'm going to go with the trailer that I posted. I have to, right? I mean, this was incredible. I was just scrolling through Twitter, and the most 2020 thing ever hit me in the face here. There is, and this I've actually done research. This is real. This is actually airing. There is a daytime movie around a love story about Colonel Sanders moving into a large Southern mansion and becoming the cook, and it's how Kentucky Fried Chicken started, apparently. And there's going to be a movie about this that has like romance, and the mother is sleeping with the girl, her daughter's fiance, but she fell in love with Colonel Sanders, who's the new cook in the kitchen, who has a secret chicken recipe that's going to change the world. And it's going to be a Lifetime movie. It's incredible. It's called A Recipe for Seduction. I probably should have led with that because that's just incredible by itself. And like it is incredible and terrible all at once. I think that the accidental comedy scale on this is going to be like a 99 out of 10. Like it's going to be hilarious, but not mean to be hilarious. And Mario Lopez is in it as Colonel Sanders. I mean, okay, let's go for it. And there's the classic line, "Secret's out, chicken man." Like, I can't get enough of this right now. So I've watched it like 5 times. I will be watching on December 13th at noon on Lifetime. You got me good. And it was sponsored. I think Kentucky Fried Chicken actually is the one who paid to get this made, which just makes it even better because they'll be even more ridiculous and go over the top.
I mean, it's sexy Colonel Sanders. It's like there's nothing about this that makes sense, and I think that's why it's such a great movie because it's Lifetime, Hallmark. They put out those really cheesy feel good movies that all have the same basic formula. And KFC stepped in. They're like, it's going to be about Colonel Sanders and it's going to be sexy. And we're going to have Mario Lopez play Colonel Sanders because why the hell not?
This is one of those meetings I wish I was in where someone in the marketing team's like, look, I got an idea, guys. I got an idea. Let's make a movie. We'll call it A Recipe for Seduction. And we'll get Mario Lopez to play Colonel Sanders. And someone else had to say, wow, that's a great idea. I want to meet these people. Who came up with this and who seconded that idea that it was a great idea? I mean, it actually is a great idea because I'm going to watch it, but I'm not going to buy Kentucky Fried Chicken because of this.
No, I already like Kentucky Fried Chicken. This is just going to make me, I don't know. This is, I really think this is going to be like a
dress, and he's like, it's even the colors and the ads they're trying to play together. It's just genius.
It's supposed to be like the chef's shirt with the collar, and he's got like the fancy tie, but then it's short sleeve because his AC Slater's still pretty jacked. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of moms having a weird sexual awakening to fried chicken, like on December 13th. It's gonna be nuts.
They have to be running some type of promo, right? Like you have to be giving like 2-for-1 chicken baskets or something, or biscuits and gravy for free. They've got to be running a promo with this. They're really missing out if they don't find a way to monetize this.
I wish that I'd felt more creative today, because I could have come up with some jokes or some puns about chickens and eggs, and I got nothing. I just this is one of those things that no, I'm okay. I'm done with between this and the Martian stuff, the Galactic Federation earlier. I kind of done with the internet today. Like when this podcast is done, I'm just going to shut it all off and go outside. I'm done.
I'd love to do that, but then I can't watch football because the Drew Barrymore show is on Fox instead of the NFL game. So that's great. Thanks, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well,
pretty rough. So I'm streaming it right here. I mean, I would never do that.
You watching something while we do a show? Never. No. On a similar vein.
Like a laser.
On a similar vein, the best thing that I saw was earlier today. Have you heard of the movie Christmas Chronicles 2 that's on Netflix?
Hard no.
Okay, so it's a 2. 2 years ago,
really,
the original one came out. It's Kurt Russell as Santa Claus, but it's a very kind of like rock and roll kind of a Santa Claus, and he's helping kids who, like, the brother is a car thief and the little girl is the only one who believes in Christmas. It's kind of like the Santa Claus where you have to or Elf where you have to build up the Christmas spirit, and then along the way all these cold hearts we're going to warm up and everything. At one point Santa's in jail playing the saxophone with a full band that just appears out of nowhere. It's that kind of movie. The second one took that and just said, now we're going to put a bunch of steroids into it. And I loved it. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Tyrese Gibson singing Christmas carols on the beach in the Caribbean. You've got that to look forward to. There's something called it's a jackal coyote hybrid. I don't know. This whole thing is just nuts. Goldie Hawn plays Mrs. Claus, who is Kurt Russell's longtime partner. So it's nuts. If you're looking for something that's just going to make you laugh at the ridiculousness of it, Christmas Chronicles 2, bam, bam, double feature. You're welcome.
I will report back. I will report back on Thursday and let you know what I think. We're just cruising through Christmas movie right now, and it will be nice to have some on Netflix. You don't have to record it on the Freeform channel, so you can watch it the next night without commercials. Because there's in a 2-hour movie, it takes 4.5 hours to watch it because there's so many freaking commercials in these things. So. It would be nice to have a Netflix film.
Yeah, so check that out. It's a little crazy one, but all right, that's enough Christmas movie talk. We'll save some for more for the next show. On today's show, we're going to be looking at the Gulfstream Park Late Pick 4 from Saturday on the Claiming Crown Day. Talk about some of the horses we like there, and then we'll look at the Derby and Oaks Preps and the Cigar Mile. Let's get into it, Mike. Riders up! All right, let me get this thing going. Did you hear that? Oh, you didn't hear that. I didn't know if you could hear that. Mrs. Magic and just yelled out "wow" in the other room. I figured right as I finished.
Nope.
Funny timing.
What's going on in there?
I don't want to know. All right, let's go. Where are we at? This is the first leg. Okay. 3, 2. All right, Mike. First thing we're going to do, we're going to take a look back at our winning Pick 4 tickets from the Claiming Crown Saturday, December 5th at Gulfstream Park. The first leg of that was race 8. And as I talked about before, Avant Garde was my top pick, breaking from the rail. 15-1 morning line. I'm not the only person who liked him. You're not the only person who liked him. He goes off at 6-1, still gets the job done. Great ride from Reyes. Why did we get this right? Why were we so good today?
Well, I'll let you start out here. This was your thing. So you start out on Avant Garde. What'd you like about this horse? How'd you end up on it?
Well, I thought that a lot of the stuff, the progression that he'd been making was looking pretty good. Reyes has been, he's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's now 6 wins and 6 starts for Reyes aboard. That was a big thing. He just seems to fit the horse well. By perspective, obviously, he looked pretty good. He seemed like he was improving, had no problem facing older horses despite being 3. It was all there. My one concern with him and why I wasn't even stronger opinion on Avant Garde, he was coming out of a sloppy race at Gulfstream Park West that was taken off the turf. So sometimes I'm a little worried, a sloppy race where he had to fight pretty hard the whole length of the stretch as a 1-5 favorite. I was a little worried that took some out of him, but I was pretty confident going in. And Reyes and Lander, they're 7 for 8 now in the last 2 years together. So they don't team up that often, but when they do, they just kind of seem to fit pretty well.
Yeah, they did well here, and obviously Lander does not put a bunch of horses out. It's only his 21st starter, 9 wins out of those 21 starters in 2020 here, and 5 of those, as we mentioned on the show, came from Avant Garde. Now 6 of his 10 wins are going to come from this specific horse. This race was the one that I felt like I actually handicapped the worst out of the group. Outside of Avant Garde, I was pretty much wrong in this spot. I did not have any of the other horses that were forwardly placed here. So I did not have Town Classic, Looking at Roses, Yoleu. Fix Me a Sandwich ends up running last. I'm a G6, so I like quite a bit. Ends up running 10th. T Loves a Fight and Miles Ahead were both mid-pack. But the other 2 I ended up using here. So I was happy that Avant Garde was able to get the job done. This is an example of one of those horses where when you see a trainer point to these type of races, this race means a lot more to this trainer than a lot of other trainers. He's being very selective with where he's putting this horse because this is really his moneymaker in his barn. It's one of the main reasons I ended up on this horse was when you have a trainer that has this few of starters that has one horse doing very well for them, he's going to make sure that horse is properly placed. 15-1 was probably a pipe dream. We mentioned that on Thursday, but 6-1 was end up a nice off price and a good way to start off this pick 4. And if you got into the horse we're going to end up talking about toward the end of the show here, the 10 horse was a 55-1. This is a heck of a way to start at a pick 5 with that horse and then this horse into it.
Another thing that I liked is that, Lander claimed this horse, out of out of John Service's barn. And the horse just kept winning. And the only time that this horse lost since Lander claimed him was in the Oklahoma Derby behind Shared Sense, which was a pretty talented horse and was not facing, I didn't think, any horse of that kind of caliber in this race. So that was another one, too. If you scratch that off, there really wasn't anything on this page to dislike about Avant Garde. And I think that's why 15-1 disappeared pretty quick on us.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the one time that this horse lost, it was clearly over its head. And so you got to think that if you go back to a reasonable class, then this horse fits really well. And the numbers fit well. And I actually was pretty impressed with the ride here in Reyes, too. To be able to sneak through the rail late, to be able to get up was it was a nice trip. And I'm happy that Avant Garde got home. It's nice to be able to move forward in this pick 4, especially with how hittable it was after we got through this race.
Yeah, it's one of those times when a jockey and a horse fit really well, when you can feel confident in that sort of a thing. And I told Mike, too, the horse that finished second, Town Classic, had the lead until the late stages. And watching it live, I thought, shit, this is a horse I considered. And I'm like, oh, damn, I'm going to lose this in the first leg again. And I showed Mike afterwards that there's a big giant drawing on my form, on my PPs. I drew a giant hanger and circled it and put a cross through because this horse has hung for his last 4 starts now. So Town Classic, boy, I don't know. If you like a horse on top, put this horse underneath in the exacta, and you got yourself a pretty good winner.
It paid nice, too.
Yeah, definitely did. Looking at the second leg here, Mike, we got my computer a little bit. Queen's Embrace gets the job done. Luis Saez, you had said on the show specifically that this was a great race. Just eat chalk. You took the top 2 choices. I took the top 3 choices. So we definitely figured in this race, you're not going to get much of a price. Just try to survive and move on. We ended up getting it. We got it done with Queen's Embrace. Luis Saez riding for the first time for Danny Gargan, who is 45% going into this race off the claim. So I think not a whole lot to talk about. We pretty much had this one wrapped up.
Yeah, I think this goes back to, people ask, how do I hit more pick 4s? Some people, how do I understand when to take swings? The big part of this race was understanding it's not a good race to take a swing. When you have favorites that should be favorites, just play the favorites. It's that simple. You don't have to make, I struggle from this sometimes, trying to make every sequence a $10,000 sequence. Some just aren't. You have to get past that, and you have to come up with ways to cash tickets in those or pass the sequence. And this was one of those examples where you had 3 tough races around it. I thought this was the layup race, and luckily we were right. And this is one where I actually did pretty good on the try because I had a rather large try straight with these 3 horses. But I thought the top 2 especially were clearly the class of the field. And turning for home, it was them and no one. So it was nice to be able to know we were moving on with just 2 horses in this leg right from the end of the top of the stretch.
Yeah, if you go ahead and check your Venmo account, Mike, you'll see that I just paid you for the bet that you suckered me into.
Well, okay. You said lone speed at least the length. The horse wasn't even in the lead. It wasn't even in the lead. Not only was it not lone speed, and it was not in the lead to one of the 2 horses I specifically called out on the podcast. You
got it right. You were right this time. I'll hand it to you.
You were just a sucker for those time form numbers, man. They're important. They're good. But you got to look at other things besides just those time form numbers sometimes, buddy.
Listen, Aaron brought up a great point. It's stupid for me to try and make for anyone to try and make a bet like that when everything relies on the 100-pound knucklehead on aboard the horse to do the right thing. And I really thought Irad would just let this horse roll up front, and nope. Nope, didn't happen. It was one of those things too that I talked to Aaron after the show. It's like, this is a boomer bust because she's either going to have the sole lead because it's a route, or she's not going to be on there. And I think it's a greater than 50% chance she'll be up there. Didn't happen. You got your $20. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I'll send you a picture of whatever I decide to buy with it. I think that's the right thing to do, just so you know what you were involved in here. Hopefully it'll be PG. The thing is, it's to me, it's inside speed. And that's when I'm looking at a lot of the who is going to make the league, which I think is a huge part of handicapping. Inside speed is really important. That's why I specifically mentioned the 6 in the podcast, the horse that was coming out of shorter distances, being able to recognize those speed horses and who's going to be able to get the trip or not. I think even if I read Sens, I don't think he's able to get the lead because I think the 6 felt the same way, and the 6 was a worse horse. So you have a lesser talent in the horse who has one choice to go to the lead to win. I think that jockey's sending 100% of the time, and Irad is almost forced to concede to that jockey in that case.
Yeah, 78-1 long shot with a low, relatively low percentage jockey and barn. They probably think we've only got one shot at this, and that's to go. And hey, listen, like I said, we're even now, so that's the last time I'm ever taking a bet with you on this stupid show.
Until Thursday. All right, good talk.
Until Thursday. Let's move on to the third leg, Mike. This one got me all excited, and a little part of me is mad that I didn't end up pulling the trigger on my single here. Fire, baby, fire, fire, fire. From the rail, I said this was going to be lone speed on the rail, go with Luis Saez. This one you agreed with me on, partially because 2 back, this horse had run 21.37 at Belmont against Open Allowance Company, so much tougher than what he was going to end up facing here. This horse looked like a monster. Luis Saez, midway home on the front stretch, Saez did a peek, and I was like, man, the balls on that guy to just go, nope, nobody coming? All right, and then you just kind of wrap the horse up. Clearly on to bigger and better things. But we were all over this one, and he was 1-2, so we weren't the only ones all over him.
Yeah, and you talked about this on the show. This horse was privately purchased for $400,000. This wasn't the goal. This was the prep. And that was the reason I tried to beat this horse, and that pretty much backfired. Let's just be honest. You look back at this sequence, and it's one of those where you could have hit it for $5, and that's how you make this thing pay $1,000. You could have hit it for $10, and you really pressed the opinion because the last race was pretty logical. And this race, if you do like Faya, it makes a ton of sense. So once you get those 2 home, if you have Avant-Garde, which you had on top, all of a sudden it's really not a hard sequence to hit multiple times, and that's probably the way to make money if you like Fire here. I tried to beat Fire. I ended up probably too deep, or I ended up much deeper than I necessarily needed to be to get to the winner here. But this still, I think, was a race where it was worth taking a shot, because if Fire doesn't end up firing, then you're going to have a chance of getting a big price. This was going to be the most singled horse in the sequence.
Yeah, this horse is going to be headed off to a stakes race at Gulfstream Park on the turf, an actual stakes race instead of just the Claiming Crown one. So,
you think it'll be the sprint on Pegasus Day?
Well, okay. So Aaron had told us that there was a sprint on Pegasus undercard that would be a good fit. I just checked. I didn't see one on the Blood Horse listing, but Blood Horse isn't always completely up to date. They do their best. So I didn't see it on there. But Ron McCann wants to know, future Grade 1 winner? I mean, it's hard to say because there are very few Grade 1 turf sprints. But this horse is definitely a graded stakes winner in the future. I'll say that much. I
wouldn't give plus 200 on it. I would be like plus 150, somewhere in there, that this horse wins a Grade 1, for the simple reason that, the best thing to have in turf sprinting? Speed. And that's what Faya has in spades. So if at some point you'll face the right field where no one will be able to run with you, and it's really hard to catch these type of horses. So I would not put it past Faya to be a future Grade 1 winner.
All right, let's take a look at the last one. One of my favorite races that they do at Gulfstream Park is the Iron Horse. This is the horses that they're just Iron Horses that like to go out there and fight and just keep running, and you geld them and they can run 70 times and keep cashing checks. Frost or Frippery, I said on the show, I was like, he's my top pick because Brad Cox is red hot right now. He's 11 of 12 in the exacta in 2020, and Saez, I was like, this just doesn't, it's going to be a short price, and I knew it. At 3-1, I thought actually was pretty good. Didn't even go off as the favorite. But this horse just, everything on page with the inside draw, I just like, I don't know how you don't use this horse at some point, and we both got it home and got paid out here. What do you think about Frost or Frippery? Yeah,
this was the top pick in here for me, and the horse is able to win. Again, this goes back to hammering this thing for $5. Looking back, would not have been that tough. I mean, it paid $99, but it would have been $1,000. We could have got home for $5. So, obviously red boarding a little bit there, but it definitely was one of those sequences. I think you could have got the job done. Man, did I get excited about this 5 horse. Man. This $99 pick 4, I had the 5, used the 5 on the show, would have paid $1,500 with the 5 horse, who was 40-1, something like that, and had a legit shot, top of the lane, and just couldn't get the job done. I mean, I thought, turning for home. I thought the 5 had some momentum, and he just ended up getting caught. I mean, this is what happens when you have a 40-1 shot who tries to hit the lead mid-stretch. It's not always the best thing for you. But at least you got the blood pumping a little bit there.
Yeah, well, and look at if you're watching live or on the replay here, we've got the chart pulled up. So you can see Froster Frippery wins by a nose over Bobby G, who did put a little bit of a scare into me there late. But Deal Driven, Okram, the 5-horse you're talking about, Business Cycle, Charlie the Greek, Super Flyover, neck, nose. Separating 5 horses. So it was very close there. And I'm with you. When I saw the 5 moving off the turn, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like I made fun of Mike, and he said, well, this is like my crazy long shot. And I was like, Gulfstream's going to Gulfstream here and get it done. Didn't happen for you, but I texted you as soon as it was over. I was like, look, you did a great job capping it. It didn't pay off for you, but you identified. I mean, look at all the long shots that were in that race. This is the one that finished above all of them and was right there until the very end. It gives you a thrill.
Yeah, it was worth the bullet. That I'll put it that way. Like there was a world where that horse does end up winning there if these 2 horses don't fly by mid stretch. But it was a fun sequence. Not as crazy as Claiming Crown Day usually is. We'll talk about a 50-1 winner that happened right before this that put a little crazy in that mix. But it was a fun sequence to cap. It's one of the great days. It's one of the reasons I love the champion meet. It's always the first Saturday of the champions meet is this Claiming Crown Day. And it's just a blast, man. It's a great opportunity for a lot of these barns to take shots with horses that aren't usually in 100K races. I mean, all these horses were sub $25,000 claimers at one point in the last year and a half. So pretty cool to see them get a shot at the spotlight.
So let's talk about that race you were referencing, a 55-1 winner in race 7. So this is what kicked off the pick 5. And listen, first of all, 55-1, this horse was 12-1 the morning line. Should have been a lot closer to 12-1 than 55. It was Edgar Zayas. It was Safi Joseph Jr. So I understand why you're saying this was a very logical horse. And I agree with you. This is number 10, High Noon Rider. When you said that, Mike, did you want to talk about this? I went through the field and I thought, I didn't play the pick 5s. Would I have actually used this horse? Without going, maybe singling Faya in that race, I don't know that I would have gotten to this one. I could understand how you would, but just the way that I handicapped, there were a lot of tough horses in here. You had multiple from Joseph, multiple from Mike Maker, who I talked about before, has more wins in the Claiming Crown than any other trainer going into this year. So I can't sit here and say I would have used him, but I can see why it would be a logical use, especially if you're going to get a price. But I'll let you take it away because you're going to be able to get some good insight here.
Yeah, so first off, to be clear, I did not use this horse in the pick 5. One of the things I do is I go back and I look after the race at a horse and should I have used it? Could I have used it? How would it have fit in there? And I was kicking myself for not using this horse. It's the reason that we're actually going here and going to talk about it, because I want, one of the questions someone asked last week on the live show was, how do I get to longer shots? How do I kind of figure out how to play long shots? And I thought this was a great example. I'm going to actually start by looking at the favorite, Temple, the 4-horse. So the 4-horse is coming out of a Keeneland race. Prior to that, ran in Kentucky Downs, Canterbury, running in stakes. But if you notice the 4-horse's buyers, they're all these low 90s buyers. So 91, 93, 90, then 94, 94, 93, 92. Horse likes Gulfstream, 4 for 8. So a lot of things to like about the 4-horse. But that low 90 buyer then is your benchmark of what it's going to take to be able to win this race. This is a maker horse. There's 4 maker horses in here. So right there, it tells you that he doesn't necessarily love any one of the 4. Now, when you're handicapping Mike Maker, Chad Brown, often it's hard to tell which one's going to run the best, and they could be the 4 best horses in this race. In this case, I used 3 of the 4 horses, so it was tough for me to be able to separate them. But after creating that benchmark for Temple, let's scroll down now and let's look at the 10-horse High Noon Rider. The key with High Noon Rider is you got to chuck the last 3 races. But if you take out the 2 Kentucky Downs races, which we have been notoriously saying are very, very difficult races, right? And you take out that Colonial Downs race, you go back to Gulfstream Park and you just look at the Gulfstream Park form. It's not overly impressive. It doesn't blow you away. But if you look at those 2 1-mile races on April 3rd and May 1st, you got $16,000, $20,000 optional claimers, 95 buyers winning the race. Horse is 5 for 9 at Gulfstream. Has 295 buyers sitting there right on the middle of the page. Both of those buyers are better than anything the favorite has run this year. Even with all, actually, I think he might have 196, but he's better than the mass majority of the races that the favorite has run. And you're getting 55-1 on a horse that is 5 for 9 at Gulfstream with multiple 95 buyers sitting there in the form versus 2-1 on that favorite on the inside. Now, I'm obviously going back into back records here, but our society as a whole has a recency bias problem, and horse racing is even bigger than that. Most people do not dig this deep. And looking 6, 7, 8 races back on the same surface and saying, okay, can this horse repeat this effort? That's how you find these long shots. That's how you get to horses that are 55 to 1. It's not by looking at the last 2 races. It's by digging back and trying to figure out, okay, where do we need to fit? Obviously, Safi, Joseph, and Zaya is also connections that are very good at this racetrack. You have a lot of different things that are going for this horse, and it goes off at 55 to 1, and it is very, very playable in this situation. So just one of those things I think it's important to look at when you see a horse that's very good at a track, and you say, oh, well, I don't think he's quite necessarily still in form. Well, what if it's just a track that he really likes? You take out the races that are out of form and they're all on a different racetrack. That kind of points you back to horses like this. So I think the 10 was one of those horses that High Noon Rider that was 55 to 1 that was really, really playable here in a pick 5 sequence. And so I wanted to make sure I shouted some of the reasons out of why it was playable, because these are all things I will be continuing looking for next weekend. And I would like to think if this race happened next weekend, I would include High Noon Rider after learning what I did this weekend. So, the way to get better is to look at your losers. Pay, like you're getting an education. You're paying for an education. You might as well use it. This is one of those examples where I think looking back and looking at a horse is a good way to learn, okay, 55 to 1 seems like it's impossible to handicap. This was a really possible 55 to 1 shot. That's why we're bringing it up.
What I think is crazy, if you look at his form, so he's been with Safi since the start of 2020, has never gone off higher than, $4.80 to 1. I know this is a bigger step up than what he'd been facing in some other starts, but when I saw that it was a 55 to 1 long shot by Safi Joseph, or out of the Safi Joseph barn, I was like, how did anybody let that horse slide up? And there are a lot of horses that with recency bias, like Mike said, that are going to attract a lot of attention. But if you look, we've talked about Kentucky Downs. I want to know real quick from you, Mike. I've noticed that Colonial Downs horses, that if they do well there, they tend to do well otherwise, and they're not quite getting that same notoriety that you would if they were coming from Saratoga, Belmont, Del Mar. Have you picked up on any of that? Are Colonial Downs horses doing well, or is this just kind of a one-off?
I haven't really picked up on it. That's kind of one of those funky tracks for me. I don't follow Colonial enough, but I've seen horses pop up there. But if I remember correctly, it's got a longer stretch or deeper turf. It's one of those that's just not. It's not a normal track. By normal, I mean just standard. So I have trouble with Colonial Downs because I don't follow it that much. That's one of those tracks I'm not usually playing.
All right. Well, if you're watching, let us know, and you follow Colonial Downs, let us know. We'd love to get your insight on that. Any other closing thoughts on Claiming Crown? I thought it was a successful day. We didn't get a big bomb price to really cash on that pick 4, but I was pretty happy with it. Yeah,
it was a fun day. Hey, anytime you trot out fields of 10, 11, 12 every race, I'm happy. That's what I want as a bettor. Like give me competitive fields of horses that are semi-consistent that I can play into, and I'm happy.
All right, Mike, let's take a look at Aqueduct on Saturday. They had 3 stakes races we're going to talk about. The first one, this was race 4 on the card, the great $250,000 Remsen Stakes. 10 points to the winner towards the Kentucky Derby. And boy, I don't understand how 10 for 10 didn't get this job done. This was a day where we thought, yeah, all right, there could be some interesting marks, but I really thought that 10 for 10 was the pick. You said so on the show. I think Aaron, and I can't remember if Jared did, but I know Aaron picked him on a blinkers off as well. And hung like crazy, and Brooklyn Strong, the New York bred, gets the job done under Rosario. What'd you think?
I was pretty happy because I did not use 10 for 10 in the Sama Bombs. I went too deep here with it. I faded the Nashua and used Brooklyn Strong and I think it was Known Agenda as my 2 horses coming into this race. And I like Brooklyn Strong's adding the distance. I thought would be a big help here. And man, Brooklyn Strong ran a huge race and was just able to run down 10 for 10 in the stretch. And this was we hit the early pick 5 for $2,000, and this was the big leg. I don't think many people had the 3 horse here. At 7 to 1 doesn't seem like a big price, but when you're sitting in a 5 horse field and 3 of those horses are sub 3 to 1, they're taking all of the money. Most people aren't going 4 deep. They're either going all or 2, or they're singling, going 2 deep, or going all. And being able to go 2 deep and getting to Brooklyn Strong made a big difference in that ticket construction.
I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this other than 10 for 10 should have gotten the job done. As Michael Myers said, had no excuses for this. This is the problem I have with the Remsen, and I said this on the last show, is that for as far as the Kentucky Derby Trail goes, this race really doesn't have much of an impact. You want to project out, later in the 3-year-old year, 4 or 5, because he's a gelding, especially, he'll probably keep running. But yeah, he's probably going to have a big success. But as far as the Derby Trail and the fact that he's a gelding, I mean, I know we had a New York bred do really well last year, but I just don't see it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, I wouldn't be touting any of these horses very strongly. I mean, we talked about how because of the way that horse racing is now, I don't think we've seen the best 2-year-olds yet. And I think that the likelihood that we're going to see an elite 2-year-old in the 1 1/8 race on December 5th at Aqueduct is extremely unlikely. We'll just put it that way. And as for 10 for 10, like, The horse had no reason to lose the previous race either. That was one of my big things. I mean, going 111 and 6 furlongs and coming home in 139 for a mile is awful. And to do that and then have to extend out to a mile and an eighth, like that Nashua just wasn't very good in my mind. So I think that was, and this is to me another example of a great reason to fade these horses that run in graded stakes early in their career. I rarely think that they're going to be the best horse. I think you're going to see up and comers consistently until probably, let's call it end of January, when we're going to see the cream of the crop come out. Then you're going to start to see horses that really deserve to be these type of favorites. But until then, I'm going to take swings with horses that are entering into graded stakes levels versus the ones that are coming out of graded stakes levels, because you have such improvement angles on some of these horses where, the 3 didn't have to take that big of a step up to be better than the 5, who already showed us that he struggled getting a mile. So what makes us think that, this horse is going to be able, even with a lone lead, is going to be able to go wire to wire against this field?
I really think that you fading the Nashua, that was the smart decision there and why you were able to connect. So good on you for that one. You want to talk about a juvenile who did look pretty damn awesome that might be able to keep it going next year. Let's talk about Malathat and the Demoiselle Stakes. It was race 9 on the same card, same distance, grade $250,000 purse just for the fillies. 10 points to the Kentucky Oaks for Malathat. She's now 3 for 3 in her career. And this is a horse that I knew before she debuted that Todd Pletcher said was his best 2-year-old of 2020. And she's looked pretty damn good. I don't know about the trip here, but I think we learned that she, like 'tis the law, really hates being stuck inside horses and getting kickback. But as soon as you get her in the clear, that Curlin filly, man, she'd gone. This was just visually, this was impressive.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you take away from this race. You're not like, wow, what a time! Everything went wrong. This horse looked beat 5 times in this race and was still able to get up and win. And this was a big horse. I had this horse singled in the pick 6 on the Sama Bombs. I had this horse singled on a $3 pick 5 on the Sama Bombs. Like, this was a big horse to get home to have that shot at the big payouts in the last leg. And we had the 3 and a 50-cent pick 5, so that would have been nice to roll over too. But this horse had no business winning this race. And when she got in the clear, what she was able to do to really just step up and kick forward was ultra impressive. Again, I'm not sure that she's the best filly that we're going to see as a 3-year-old, but she showed a lot of heart and talent in when she got in the clear, even after everything that went wrong. She was able to flip that gear. She was like that bike, just switching gears going up the hill, and she just took off, man. So I was very impressed with what Malathat was able to do in this race. You got a runner here, and I mean, it shouldn't come as that big of a shock, right? I mean, this is a $1 million horse for Shadwell Stables that was bred by Stone Street out of Dreaming of Julia, and it's a Curlin filly. Like, everything here screams talent, and it was nice to see her to put it all together, especially in that last 16th of a mile.
I'm going to pat myself a little bit on the back here because for the website, instead of doing a full preview of here are the different horses, I was like, let's take a look at the pedigree, because it's really hard for 2-year-olds to go a mile and an eighth. There's a lot of stumble bunnies that are going to be coming home probably. It would definitely happen in the Remsen. A little bit happened here, at least with the back half of the field. But I went through and just did a pedigree analysis of each horse and I said, this is what their sire side looks like. This is what the dam side looks like. And the only A that I had was Malathat. The only 2 B pluses that I had were Milfoy and Malibu Curl. And then I had B minuses as Cafe Society, Traffic Lane, and Celestial, or I think Traffic Lane was a C. Celestial Cheetah was a C minus. I was like, she doesn't have any business in here. I literally predicted the order of finish based off of their pedigree, and it had nothing to do with coincidentally, they just finished in order of their odds.
I mean, I could pat you on the back a little more, except 1, 2, 3 were all Curlins. So that right there kind of gave you a little bit.
That was a big reason. That was a huge reason
right there. So but hey, good job by you. Way to recognize that pedigree.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. And like I said, I really didn't want to have to write a recap about the race or a preview for the race. So, going that angle was pretty nice. Let's stick with the Kentucky Oaks theme. We're going to switch over to Los Al on Saturday, the 5th race there, the grade 1, $300,000 Starlet Stakes. It was a race that Bob Baffert had won each of the last 3 years. Drayden Van Dyke had ridden the winner in each of the last 3 years. Baffert had the favorite, Princess Nor, 3-5. She was undefeated going into the Breeders' Cup. Juvenile fillies didn't do very well in there. I was completely against her in this spot, and I was against Astute. And if you've watched the show, I love that filly. Varda was my top pick. I can't really celebrate because off the turn, if Princess Nor doesn't have that soft tissue injury that thankfully she's going to survive, but she's out, or she's now retired. If she doesn't hurt herself, I don't win this race. Princess Nor does. But you know what? There's been enough bad luck in horse racing that I've had Princess Nor types like that where that happens. I'm going to accept the 17-1 payoff on this one. I'm going to celebrate this one a little bit.
Yeah, let's definitely start out by saying really happy Princess Nora's okay.
Yes.
Bummer to see her get hurt for multiple reasons. First off, she was a talented horse. Secondly, she was going to get way overbet off this effort. I was looking forward to playing against her next time out, which isn't going to happen. But as Slim said, she's going to have a good life. She's going to be able to have sex with a lot of champion horses, so good for her.
It's not all Slim said, but I like that you edited it out.
Astute, a horse I love, singled it up last time she was out. You said it. 2 turns is not her bag. So I didn't end up playing. I was rooting for her, but I didn't bet this race. I didn't think it was a great betting race, so I passed on this one. But I would have loved to see her win, but there was some issues there, so we're not shocked she finished where she did. And you've been talking about Vidara since she was scratched last time out, so it was nice to see this all come together for you and to be able to get this W. I will be betting against every one of these horses out of this race. We'll just put it that way. Nothing in here is making me, except if Astute sprints again, which in that case, hopefully we get a number on her because of this effort. But she's the one horse in here I have any interest in. Vidara, I bet, wins at least one more graded stakes in California going 2 turns. But she's not a horse long-term I'm interested in, and probably one I would look forward to fading come Oaks weekend, because I bet she will be in the gate.
Yeah, I don't, of all the horses that we saw this week, I think maybe Malathat's the only one that I would want to play, like looking long-term for the Oaks. But you've said it already on the show, Mike, that it's too early to really know who's going to be the superstar. This time 3 years ago, Monomoy Girl was coming off of a loss, and look what happened. That was the last time that she lost a race in her career. So to date, I keep forgetting she's still coming back. So the question remains here from Michael Myers. Do you take any of these horses over Vequist, or who the hell do you even have leading this division right now?
Probably Vequist. I don't think we know yet. I think we'll find out more in January when we see some more debuts. I'm guessing we haven't even seen Baffert's best 2-year-old filly right now. And he had the favorite and Vidara in this race. So we'll see what he has coming out of his barn moving forward here. But I'm probably taking unknown horse, but I would take Vequist of what we've seen run so far. Yeah,
I'm with you. Maybe, because it's Pletcher, Velasquez, because it's Curlin, I'm going to stick with Malathat for now. But a horse that we've covered in a previous sequence, Exotic West, Bob Baffert, Gary Mary West homebred, got the name.
Actually, you know what? That's probably true. I would probably take Exotic West over all these horses. She aired too. She looked freaking good when she ran.
Yeah.
I would say she's probably but we need to see her stretch out. But she's the most talented filly we've seen so far. Malathat's up there too. I'm not sure what to do with a horse running at that distance right now at Aqueduct. Like I just don't know. I don't know how good that field was.
But not that great. And I think Millefoy's got a potential history as a late 3-year-old, early 4-year-old graded stakes winner. She's got Bill Mott, but that also means because she's got Bill Mott, she is not going to be pushed along. The last race we want to look at, going back to Aqueduct, race 10, the big headlining event, the grade 1 $250,000 Cigar Mile handicap. This race was all kinds of mess, and not just because the sloppy sealed track scared away. I'm mind control. I was trying to think of the horse's name. Majestic Dunhill decides not to show up as well. We also lose Firenze Fire, who I thought was going to be my pick to win this race, but the sloppy track kind of scared him away. So True Timber gets the job done. Performer, are we going to blame Rosario? There's a lot to kind of unpack about this. Not that excited to talk about everyone but the winner here, but I'll let you take things off.
Yeah, this race sucked. It's a combination of me being frustrated with myself for not hitting the all button. The fact that True Timber has not won in 2 years and won a grade 1, never won at a mile before and won a grade 1. A lot of things that I'm not happy about in this one, but it kind of is what it is. True Timber ran well and ran well over the slop, and that was probably the angle and the reason why you want to move True Timber forward, as clearly you like the off track and off going, was able to get the job done there. Yeah, Performer didn't break well. Rosario didn't give the horse a chance afterward. Kind of surprised he didn't let him rush up a little bit, but he really choked him back, put him in the back of the field, and I don't think he had much of a chance once he was able to do that. I think that he was really just kind of stuck back there. So I don't love the ride by Rosario. I think if you have the best horse in that instance, you got to put yourself in the best position to win, and being 10 lengths off the lead or whatever he was, probably not the best position to win, especially on a track that didn't seem to be playing that well to that. So for a lot of reasons, I think that there are ways that this race could have gone differently, but it's one of those where you kind of tip your hat to True Timber. I probably should hit the all button or found a way to do that and shorten in the sequence earlier, and lesson learned.
here's why I love the True Timber story, and maybe I was a little quick to put the love on him because it was, I think the race had like 2 minutes had been finished, and everyone on the Race Dudes team had not bet True Timber if they bet this race. I didn't bet the race. So I just thought it was great that as they're coming back, someone tells Kendrick Carmouche, hey, this was a grade 1, and he realizes first career grade 1 win. He had told Jack Sisterson, the trainer, who wasn't there in New York, he texted him and said, I got you on this one. We're going to win it. So he was confident going in, but just the emotion that Kendrick Carmouche had for winning his first grade 1. And then the next day he locked up his first ever NYRA riding meet title. So he won more races than anyone else at the Aqueduct Fall meet. So really great day and great weekend for Kendrick Carmouche, but Jack Sisterson deserves a lot of credit for this horse. Sisterson's a guy that you've picked his horses a lot. He trains Lexingtonian, Vexatious, upset Midnight Bisou in the the Ogden Phipps or Personal Lines earlier this year. So he's been able to get horses to fire at big grade 1 events. This is a guy who's 33 years old. He's a former assistant for Todd Pletcher and Doug O'Neill, among other trainers. Who there's two types of trainers in the game. There's trainer types like Bob Baffert, who are used to just kind of overseeing the entire operation. They delegate, they find the right people. Then there are horsemen. And that's what Jack Sisterson is. This guy is hands-on. He's with his horses. Calumet Farm made him their go-to trainer. So Calumet Farm has good horses. They send them to Jack Sisterson because he brings them along the right way. He treats them well. And from all the research I did, he is not a cheater. So if you're looking for good guys in this sport to root for, Jack Sisterson is one of those ones. So when he wins a grade 1 like this, even though nobody in our team had this horse, I felt pretty happy for him because this is the kind of people that need to be rewarded in this sport. Yeah, and
look, I love the people connected with the horse. Pissed I didn't have the horse. That really is all it is.
Right.
And like you said, he's done a wonderful job with other horses. He's one of those trainers I think is sneaky under the radar from a price perspective. I think like you've mentioned, I play him quite a bit. If you watch the Sound Bombs, he's one of those I will include more often than not in some interesting spots because he does a very good job of spotting his horses. And to me, that is really one of the big keys for some of these, we'll call them the second tier trainers, the lesser known trainers, is how you can spot your horse is how you're going to lead to your success. And Sisterson spots his horses very well. So I never have to worry whether or not the horse will handle the track or is it the right level. I always trust that Sisterson's putting him in the right spot.
So can I ask you, because this is a question I thought of afterwards, is how do you know when is the time to fire on a Jack? Because he's not a super high percentage trainer. He wins his fair share, but he's not a super high percentage. This is only his second career grade 1 race. So when do you know this is the time to pull the trigger, or is it not that easy?
It's not that easy. It really depends on me. Look, there are certain trainers I throw out. For Sisterson, I never throw his horse out, which means I end up on his horse quite a bit more often, right? Like I won't throw it out if it's a first-time starter. I'm not going to throw it out if it's a second-time starter. I don't mind him debuting over a mile. This case, he had Bon Risson and True Timber in here, and that was one of the main reasons I didn't use either of them. Because I was never using Bon Risson. If you're putting both of them in there, it made me think True Timber wasn't ready for this type of effort. So that kind of shot me in the foot a little bit there. But, for the most part, he doesn't do anything really poorly, and he spots his horses well. And the combination of those two things lend me to probably use him more than other people do.
All right, the last thing we're going to do on this show, we had a listener send us a question in an email we wanted to touch on. And so if you're listening to audio of the podcast version, I'll read it out for you. The listener basically said, I like to play pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, loose ceiling of about $18 for a ticket. So especially if you pick 5, going to go really short. I tend to miss by one horse in those sequences, and I try singling the last leg and fading it with the win bet if I'm alive in that last leg. How can I improve my ticket win percentage? There's a lot to unpack here, but Mike, overall, what could you say to a fan like this that's trying to get better?
First off, the number one, I think the sequencing is where I would start. I think singling the last leg because you want to be alive and try and hedge. And I guess I'll start with hedging. I think hedging is one of the worst things you can do when playing multi-race wagers and horse racing. I think hedging any bet where you're not guaranteeing yourself a profit is a bad idea because you should be betting on your opinions. And if your opinion is, if you like one horse specifically or in a 7-horse field, let's say, betting 3 other horses to win for $2, then you're upping your $18 budget to $24. And you still have two horses that beat you. And I'm guessing the other 3 horses don't all return a profit on $24. They all have to be over 12 to 1 to do that. So you're setting yourself up in a situation where you're not locking in a profit, which I think is the most important thing in hedging. And people who come from sports betting often talk about hedging a lot because, you have one team left in a parlay or you have one team left in a teaser and it leaves you a middle. Horse racing, there is no middle. Every ticket either wins or loses. So you can never middle it, which I think is important. And secondly, you're in horse racing, the way that you win is hammering your opinion. To then fade your own opinion when you've been right leading into it is almost counterproductive in how you can be have the best expected value in the long run. I've only hedged once I'm 7 years old, and I've played horses since I was 2. I haven't been playing pick 4s or pick 5s that long. So we'll say in the last 15 years since I started playing pick 4s, I have hedged one time. That one time I was live to scooping an entire pool and I had half the field. So I bet win bets on the other half the field. It was $72,000 to scoop the pool on a $180 ticket. So yeah, then I hedged. Other than that, 0 times have I hedged. Because I end up with the horses I have because it's my big opinion. My big opinions got me there. The last thing I want to do is devalue my big opinions when I'm seeing the ball well.
That's great points. The only other thing I'll say on hedging, someone taught me a long time ago that if you're going to only hedge if it's a life-changing score. So if you're alive to, you said 72,000 to scoop the pool or something like that. To me, that's a life-changing score. So then, hell yeah, I'm going to spread and try and because the worst thing that could ever happen is you're alive to 72 grand and you watch it slip away and you're literally left with the broken ticket. And that's it. So in that case, if it's life-changing, go for it. Try to middle it, like Mike is saying, but especially for an $18 ticket, unless you're alive to 72,000 off of $18, which if that's the case, good God, you're amazing. But
go
I would
like 5 beers and don't worry about it because they're so stressed out when they break from the gate.
Yeah. As far as one of the things we talked about was if you have an $18 loose ceiling, I guess if you're doing to pick 5, it's hard to hit that. But if you're just looking for something kind of fun or some action, my personal opinion would be if that's what your budget is, which everybody has their own personal budget. Mine is quite small as well. So if you've got a smaller budget, maybe try the pick 3s. Less volatile. You're not likely to get the big payouts on that, but you're a lot more likely to hit than you are on an $18 pick 5. So maybe do pick 3. Hell, maybe do rolling pick 3. That's something that Mike taught me how to do at the track. Is just to roll those pick 3s with your top couple of plays, and for 50 cents, you can make $18 go pretty far with that, depending on where you're at. So that would be my input as well.
Yeah, and the other thing, and this is something that a lot of people do is I tend to miss by one horse. I try singling the last leg. So I'm not just going to address the last leg. I know a lot of people that like to single the first leg or like to single the last leg. And the last leg is for the reason I want to be alive. So I'm going to use all my money on bullets earlier in the sequence. And the first leg is I want to know if I'm alive so I can bet back the pick 3 if I miss, right? So you have people for different reasons going there. Both of those, in my mind, are negative expected value plays. Long term, as a horse player, you shouldn't walk into a sequence assuming, look, your single should be your strongest opinion. It should be the horse you are most confident in. Because essentially, let's say you're betting an $18 pick 5 for 50 cents, so a total of 36 combinations. You're really betting $18 to win on that horse and then parlaying it with the other winners. Because if that horse doesn't win, your ticket doesn't win. So your strongest opinion may come in the first leg. It may come in the last leg. But your bet structure should not be determined by what leg it is. It should be determined by where your strongest opinion is. So a lot of times you may have a weak opinion in the last leg, but you're singling because you're trying to be able to hedge and be alive to that last leg. But in actuality, you like the other horses, but your big opinion was in the second race and you decided to go 3 deep there because you wanted to be alive. That is a pretty big gap from a profitability perspective. So the number one thing I would say is your single should be the horse you are most confident in the sequence, not based on the race in which the sequence falls in.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think that if you go into it specifically targeting either the first or the last leg, I think you're already approaching it a little. And if you've already looked at it and you say, now I want to single one of those spots, okay, great. But just going in with that mindset is kind of difficult. I think it is, especially for $18, if that's your loose ceiling, find a single. Definitely find a single somewhere wherever you're most confident in. But if you also get through a 5-race sequence and you don't have any strong opinions, don't play it. Just take it off, because if you don't have a strong opinion anywhere, there's a really good chance your $18 is just out the window. And then you could therefore save that for a better sequence. You could use it to pad a different bankroll, something like that. It's a lot of different options. Just don't get stuck in a rut.
Yeah, well, what I would say is if you don't have a strong opinion in the pick 5, play the pick 3s like you mentioned, because you can spread more in those pick 3s than you can in the pick 5. And like, I think that's Aaron probably commenting. Your strike rate is not going to be super high at $18. So if that's the case, then make sure you adjust accordingly so that you're able to kind of keep your budget moving forward. I think Magic's point is a great one. It's a Monday. It's in December. There are 9, 10, 11 thoroughbred tracks running today. That means you most likely have about 15 sequences to choose from a pick 5 perspective. You could be pretty selective at this point in American horse racing. There's going to be another sequence coming soon. So, I have a feeling that you can be selective if you want to. Now, it's tough when you go to the track, and I do this. I play every sequence when I go to the track. I'm degenerate enough that I'm playing every pick 5, every pick 4, every pick 3. I'm usually rolling doubles too, because I'm not at the track all the time, and that's totally fine, because that's how I want to be. I'm going there for entertainment. So, but when you're sitting at home and you're playing on a weekday, I think it is important to have a little more. We'll call it a little more. What's the what word am I looking for? Discipline. There it is. A little more discipline when you're deciding on what sequences you want to play and how you want to play a track. If you decide to play a track, great. If you don't have a big opinion in 5 races, play pick 3s. If you do, play the pick 5 and kind of hammer that opinion and see if you get it home.
If you have any questions that you want us to discuss on the Magic Mike Show, shoot us an email at contact@racenews.com, and we'd be more than happy to discuss it. We've done it before in the past. We like to bring these up. So if you ever have questions about how to possibly get better or change up your handicapping, let us know. We'll review it on a future show. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. I appreciate everybody who is joining us live, or if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. Make sure you come back on Thursday. It'll be 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. We're going back to Gulfstream Park. There's no question about it. Mike's been hot to start things off. I actually hit a ticket for the first time. I've been trying to do that. I think it's been 2 or 3 months since I hit one. So I'm back. I'm ready for more. I know Saratoga Slim is all excited because Slim hit with the bombs. And so Slim's kind of like that. Gotta get some more. So
he's in the must-use category now.
Exactly. So make sure to go to racenews.com. Click on the handicapping products page. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Summer Bombs are there. Gulfstream Park this is where Mike Somich does his best work. So now's the time to get in on it. He's just getting heated up. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Calloward. He is at SummerBomb 18, number 1, number 8, corporate overlords at racing_dudes. Not a lot happening this week. Pretty easy for me. If I can fit the entire week schedule on one sheet of paper, Mike, I know it's going to be a little bit of a light week. What do you have going on?
Well, that means we're going to see a new video, maybe a new theme song, a new outro video. We got magic board at the producer's mic there, so something's going to happen. I'm probably going to throw up bombs for Wednesday and Thursday at Gulfstream Park. Just throw grid only options up there. So if you're a subscriber to the Summer Bombs, you'll get the grids for free. If not, you can go on racingdudes.com. I think it's /products or _products, one of the two. Just click the products tab. You'll find the Summer Bombs there. It'll be the picks for $25 on Thursday and Friday. Then we'll go back to the normal ticket and grid structure Friday through Sunday. Maybe we'll sprinkle some Aqueduct too after a nice little show, and people want a little more Aqueduct love. So maybe we'll have to go back and see what happens there. Actually, didn't they have closing day on Sunday? Am I making that up?
Closing for their fall meet, and now it's the winter meet.
Okay, so they're not trying to confuse anyone or anything. Cool. So opening day at Aqueduct Thursday. Well, what about that? Should we talk about that? No? Okay, all right.
No.
Yeah, so I'll have the Summer Bombs up for Wednesday and Thursday at Gulfstream, and then we'll roll into the grid-only Summer Bombs Wednesday and Thursday, and then we'll roll into the normal thing the rest of the week. And keep an eye out. Keep an eye out on Twitter as well. I'm going to be throwing out more tickets during the week as I'm getting back more and more into the racing side of things here. So we'll see more and more of those too. If you want to follow along, and if anyone has ideas for what we should do for Sam Houston, if we think Magic should be doing, we should do like an hour live show some nights, or what we should do for these late pick 4s, hit us up, let us know. Magic's looking forward to it. He can't wait.
That's going to do this episode of the Magic Mike Show. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you Thursday.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.